that Stuart Greaves was to give the leadership. So we're coming right to the end of 3 years. The Lord, I resigned the board, the staff, everything. Down here, you'll see it. You can just see it on the notes, Revelation 9:21. Murder, 4 major weapons: murder, sorcery, immorality, and theft. Those are his 4 primary weapons, but accusation actually trumps all of those as the primary tool of Satan. He will do those other 4, but accusation is at the front of the line. About my enemies. The word of my testimony is the Lord says, what do you think I see in what I say about that person accusing you? I think you think they're wrong. Well, no, that's not really what I'm saying. I'll work with them on things, but that's not what I'm saying about them right now. What am I saying?
KC leadership team. And then I want to take a moment and pray. And then I'm going to hand it back over to Isaac. This is a statement from the IHOPKC leadership team regarding allegations against Mike Bickle. We are heartbroken to share that we recently became aware of serious allegations of sexual immorality directed against Mike Bickle, the founder of IHOPKC. Our leadership team takes these allegations very seriously, and we are laboring for truth, light, redemption, and righteousness.
In other news, sexual misconduct allegations have sidelined a prominent faith leader right here in Kansas City. The founder of International House of Prayer will not be teaching or preaching as these accusations are being investigated. Fox 4's Malik Jackson is live at Forerunner Church, which is associated with IHOPKC. And Malik, the church addressed these disturbing allegations during service today.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Welcome to my channel. Please support your local food bank, Drug and Alcohol Center. So I have put a compilation video together on some of my previous videos. These are the leaders that are calling these people an evil spirit of accusation, Absalom's. They're trying to take down the serpent of the accuser, right? Rick Joyner's saying that what these men have done by advocating for the victims is an evil spirit. All right, now, one of the spiritual gifts is a discernment of spirits. This is the front of my website. And Mr. Bowles, the petition, so you click here, and he has a free case evaluation, your name, last name, and your email. So if for anyone who is a victim at IHOP, this is a link for Bowles, who is helping the victims. This petition is for everyone who believes IHOP needs to investigate with integrity. You click that. There it is. And these are all former IHOP leaders. There's quite a few of them. So Grace is a founder. Susan, Bradley, Isaac Mayer, Julie Myers. All these people are asking for IHOP to have a third party. This is why a third party, a church leadership, has no expertise, no independency, no objectivity, seasoned multi-description rarely, analysis of trauma-informed principles. Can you even see that? Rarely. Trauma and trauma-enforced interviewing, rarely. And cultural analysis varies. So we are advocating for a third party investigation. We want the truth on our channel. Now, Stephen Strang is saying that IHOP people are saying he's in direct communication with the leadership. They sent him the report to do his show. He was rushed onto the show. He did a live, and he said that, well, he said a lot of things. I did a video about that. But one of the things he said was IHOP people are saying that unless more comes to light, there's not even a reason to spend the money to hire lawyers to come in and do a thorough investigation. All my videos that I have posted are on my website. You can come watch them. And I'm going to be doing updates. As the information comes out, I'm going to add it to this page. This is a place of healing and truth. We seek after the truth on my channel. This is a public statement concerning the allegations. Mike Bickle. He's also learned of corroborating allegations from other victims that has broken his heart. He's walking with one of the survivors. And I have accepted his testimony, what he wants, what we all want. If you love Mike Bickle, if you love IHOP, what everybody wants is a third party to look at it. We want a third party investigation. They want to have somebody to talk to Mike, and we want to talk to the women. We want the truth. We want to protect possible future victims. That's what we want. This isn't going to be swept under the carpet. This has to be exposed. And on the testimony of all these people and many more, we are very concerned about the actions of Mike Bickle and the leadership. All right. Now, what Alan wants, an independent third-party investigation is the only pathway for a godly and fair process for all parties involved. I have spoken with IHOP leadership, and they have assured me that this is their intent. Well, as of right now, they're saying they're not going to even spend the money for a thorough investigation unless something else comes to light. Public statement, according allegations of Mike Bickle. We are aware of serious allegations spanning several decades concerning its founder, Mike Bickle, without going into details to protect the privacy of the victims' identities. We have found these allegations of clergy sexual abuse by Mike Bickle to be credible and long-standing. I've accepted the word of Dwayne Roberts, Brian Kim, and Wes Martin. These men. I'm done with this video. I put together about a 20 more video to see the response of the church, James Goal, the leadership. This guy, Stephen Strange, Rick Joyner, is calling it a nothing burger, and he'll be restated into his power and position of authority and power in the church. This is an attack of Satan on God's house to take down. And of course, all of these people are saying, we want a third-party investigation to look at this. Done with this video. Remember, to my friends, if you can like the video and share it out. Have a great day. See the Lord bless you. Keep you strong in the faith, and always remember, Brother John loves you.
Do not be arrogant and so lie against the truth. Now, in my opinion, when I read this thing, I felt some really bad stuff all over it. And even though there may be some truth involved here, I'm not going to accept accusations that come in a wrong spirit, something that is so clearly a bad spirit. Is to stand by his people when they're unjustly or unrighteously attacked. Now, I'm not saying there's not something behind all this, but I think we're going to call it a nothing burger when it finally all comes out. That's my opinion. I may be wrong about that. I'm calling it my opinion, not a revelation. But I do believe that just because looking at the accusation. So I hope you hear this. Felt like I made a big rookie mistake on my last rant. I think a whole lot of what I said was very good and accurate, but one thing I said, I indicated that, the accusers could be doing something, in the case of Mike Bickle, worse than anything Mike could have done. Now, I was not thinking how many female accusers who are accusing Mike, and it's not an accusation, but, can be a truth, that they should not be considered that way at all. In fact, we want to do everything we can to make anyone who feels like they've been abused, that they are free to come forward and absolutely not be thought any less of, and will be taken seriously. This is a serious issue. There's no doubt about it. Anything like this that happens is very serious. And of course, in the case of the one doing the abuse, they are being a stumbling block too. But in most cases, it was proven that they were falsely accused. And I know some of it were people just jumping on a bandwagon. It's a serious matter. You never want to do that. Our basic commodity that gives us any value in the public at all is truth and a devotion to truth, devotion to accuracy. Now, I still hold to what I said about the way the accusations came out, the public release that was made by some former leaders of IHOP, I was deeply troubled with, and I became reactionary. That's a rookie mistake. And they could have, I don't know what their motives were, don't want to speculate. I don't think we should do it like that. I think what I did was akin to what they did. I want to admit that. I want to own it.
In my opinion, the IHOPKC original statement to their staff and students was harmfully casual. A later statement that has been authenticated from prior board members, many of you have seen, I'm not going to go into the details, but if you've seen it, let me tell you, as your pastor, those allegations I know to be true. I know those men, we've walked with them for decades. I believe them, but I'm not just taking their word for it. We've had other discussions, and that document, had I been asked, I would have added my name to. So we're sorry for victims. We're sorry for collateral damage. We're sorry for Mike's family. We're sorry for Mike, even if he has caused this great headache. We are praying that the Lord uses the least severe means to bring about the greatest righteousness in this situation.
We're not going to name a victim, but anyway, here's a redacted version of this, and it was a post that was recently made, and it goes like this: my heart is broken for the many victims of Mike Bickle, IHOPKC. Now, that part, I believe it was her ascertaining of the evidence, because she's going to share one story specifically. She says, especially since I know for a fact a lot of them could have been avoided if just one would have spoken up 20 years ago. My father, she says who he is and basically his relationship to IHOP, which was involved in leadership, pre-IHOP, really, 20 years. Yeah. Anyway, I'm trying to redact here live on the spot. But anyway, she says her father had walked into an incident happening between Jane Doe and Mike Bickle. After speaking with Jane Doe in private, he learned more that had been going on and that it was not consensual and she was being taken advantage of. My father tried to convince her to report it and told her that he planned to go to the authorities as well. Jane Doe begged him not to because she didn't want to start any trouble. Shortly after, my father received threats not only on his position there, but on his life as well. And he knew if he had gone to the authorities, it would be his word against both Mike and Jane Doe. Since she wasn't willing to tell the truth, my father ultimately chose to leave that ministry altogether. So again, this is public. Quite a few people saw it. And so I think since it was public, it deserves to be part of the conversation. However, like I said, it's important that we preserve victims' identities.
So my former boss, he is related to one of the founding members of IHOPKC, and he has told me about the trauma and the abuse, and that was 14 years ago or something. So I stand with the victims and their families, and I hope that there's accountability.
The church of all places should be a safe place for victims to come forward and be heard. That's clearly not what's happening at IHOP. It's so grievous. And so I implore Mike Bickle and the current leadership to step down and to allow a qualified third party to come in and lead the investigation and create an environment of healing for the traumatic experiences that have occurred.
fulfill the law of Christ. For if anyone thinks that he is something, when he is nothing, he deceives himself. Now, I have been having many alarms going off on the inside of me. And one of them is this: don't throw accusation for accusation. Over a year ago, I was warned. I had a dream. It was thunderclouds, storm clouds. That's all it was. And then I was awakened by the audible voice of the Lord in my bedroom. And the Lord warned me, and he said this: do not get caught up in the war of words. I wish that I would listen to my own words. Well, I sure try to. But sometimes I fail. Now, folks, listen. Let's not get caught up in a war of words, particularly when you don't have any sphere of authority in something. Hi. And I have something that is so alive on the inside of me. Do not align with the accuser of the brethren. You don't know. And sometimes I just want to tell people, it's none of your business. Now, praying for all those in authority is your business. Make sure you're staying within your sphere. Who's a victim and who's not is not your business. Are there victims? I don't know. You know what? It's no longer my sphere of authority. It isn't. Could I maybe be of a help? Yes, because I have a lot of history. But you know what? You have to release your own felt need to be a Messiah rescuer. And we need to be in a place of solemnity, and we need to be in a place of care and love. We don't want to see one of the greatest ministries in the body of Christ go down. And we don't, and I just want to be, in a way, I'm struggling right now. No, I'm not. I am not struggling. I have a word of wisdom. Do not get caught up in the war of words, and in particular in social media. So listen, stop it, because you could be aligning with the accuser of the brethren. If anything, hold up the hands of leaders who maybe have never faced anything like this ever before. I have. I've gone through so many controversies. So you know, one of the best things to do is pray for those in authority. Pray. And pray for those who have been wounded. And pray for those who have possibly been accused. And pray for the families. Believe me, I want to name some names, and I'm not. And God so loved the world that he gave his only son. And guess what? Wounded people wound people. And Jesus came to heal the brokenhearted. Folks, look to yourself. It says to restore one in gentleness.
Faithful witnesses. I'm being a faithful witness to my brothers. There's more to be shared, and what David just said is well-intended, righteous.
I second that.
And I believe that you need to address this in a different way with a greater degree of transparency, or this is not going to be a trustworthy process.
And in that video, that woman that said, I second this. And I thought, when I heard that, it resonated with me that, whoa, there's something wrong.
Stream of pressure applied. The forces at work are not necessarily cooperating. And so some of what looks like and statements that have been made, it could appear that there is more cooperation than is what is actually happening. And therefore, why are certain pressures being applied in light of that? It's actually quite the opposite. The only reason anything is happening is because pressure is being applied, and otherwise there is denial and obfuscation and attempts to hinder. And that's a sad part of the truth of it. And so
allegations. It's no secret that there have been church fights. No secret that certain ministries people have tried to take them over or even destroy them. And as we go through this, I think that you'll see sort of a pattern. But let me start at the end of this investigation. First of all, it was like, oh no, not Mike Bickle too. Because over the years, sadly, there have been some scandals where Christian leaders have fallen short of the standard they need to leave. And that can be everything from being abusive to their employees. And listen, I've seen some Christian leaders that are just tyrants behind the scenes and how they treat their staff and everything else. Mike Bickle was never like that. And he's really not even being charged with that. But then there's also been long-term affairs. I attended a church for a decade, and we knew that something was wrong, and finally we left the church, and later it was found out that the pastor had a 4-year affair with someone in the church. And I would have never suspected this man to be like that. Very, very disappointed, created a lot of heartache, was not widely known. It was kind of a little local scandal, so to speak. With Mike Bickle, because he's a national figure, because the ministry reaches around the world. It was a decent car, but it certainly wasn't luxurious. He gives away most of his material. He is not greedy at all, but I have seen leaders who are, and sometimes when it's brought to attention, they will say it's a spiritual attack. In this case, I really believe it was a spiritual attack. And I can tell you that very early, I could tell that something was not right. Now, you can go back and see, I gave a lot of disclaimers, and if specific, and when they go through, it says that the complaint group did bring a pre-prepared list of demands to prevent escalating levels of disclosure. I'm not sure what that means. And the demands and threats, which included dictating the use of IHOPKC's funds, and it generated an atmosphere of concern regarding the true objectives of the complaint group. Now, IHOPKC has been given, a lot of donations over the years, even though the staff raises their own support. People give to the ministry. Some very generous donors have given them some land, some land actually that was formerly owned by President Harry Truman's family. It's just very interesting. And when there's a lot of assets, and then sometimes when you have leaders who think that maybe they would be the successors, there's just so many questions. The fact is, I don't know what's going on. I'm just trying to connect the dots in order to understand and report and let you understand what's really going on about them. In fact, I have a friend who is kind of a IHOPKC insider. And in fact, he's the one who sent me the statement earlier today. It is a public statement, but he's the one who sent it. And then he sent me what he posted on X, which is the new name for Twitter. but and I just thought a couple of things. His post on X said, it's not just about being right that matters, it's how we are right that matters, to reflect the character of Christ in all matters in our thoughts and actions. And I thought that that was well said, but in a personal text to me, he said he said that there are weapons of mass emotion that are used to control a narrative and implant beliefs, whether true or false. Memories can be manipulated. Woundedness not dealt with desires another person to feel pain. Now, I have not talked to Mike Bickle or anyone in his family. I did send a little email telling him that I was praying for him and offering to talk to him, but he has not responded. And I'm just concerned because it appears that some wounded leaders apparently had it in for Mike for some reason, and they came representing. You can read the statement, connect the dots, in order to understand and report and let you understand what's really going on. So here we have some group of leaders, one of whom, and all this is hearsay, but I was told that one of these people told someone at IHOPKC, this is absolute hearsay, that they wanted to see the ministry burn down. And so you have to wonder about their motives. Now, if there has been wrongdoing, if there's been manipulation, or inappropriate touching or whatever it is, we want that dealt with. But let's think about the Me Too movement. I obviously spent some time researching this, but we have to realize that if the enemy is going to bring down a ministry, he's got to get rid of the head. And he's got to make people question that ministry. I want to say that I think that Mike has handled this right, being quiet. I think that the leadership at IHOPKC has been responsible. If they erred, they needed to err on the side of being overly cautious. But like I said, very, very early, it looked like, especially when that first woman sent out that Facebook post, that we had to have questions. Now, what's happened is that the IHOPKC people are saying that unless more comes to light, there's not even a reason to spend the money to hire lawyers to come in and do a thorough investigation. It kind of reminds me of the Mueller report. You know, there were these charges that were made up against Donald Trump, and they spent 2 years trying to find something, and at the end of the day, they found absolutely nothing. And, you know, in some cases, especially when it's with one leader, either he did it or he didn't do it. With the Southern Baptist Convention, you know, there was, and even in the Roman Catholic Church, sadly, you know, there was kind of a pattern that was kind of covered up and so forth. This isn't the case at all. There, as far as I know, no one else at IHOPKC has been accused of this. On the other hand, Mike Bickle, who I've known personally, I've been in his home, he's been in my home. At one time, we were both at a conference in Korea. So, I mean, I've seen him outside the country in lots of settings, had lots of meals with him, been in the prayer room with him. I have never known him to even tell an off-color joke. He has never made an innuendo, ever. I just know him to be a godly man who spends hours and hours and hours in Bible study and prayer. And he's built a great ministry. And I really do believe, this is my personal opinion, and I have a right to my personal opinion, that this is an attack of the enemy. And I think that the investigation needs to continue. But these people who brought the charges, if it turns out to be wrong, if it turns out that they have wrong motives or they're offended in some way, they need to be dealt with whoever their spiritual oversight is, because this is wrong. To assassinate a man's character, you know, it's national news. I do believe that Mike Bickle's reputation will survive this, but there will always be some people who have a question mark about Mike Bickle and IHOP. I'd like to know what you think. Be